Hi, I'm Maya Dion, and I am your Bounce Back Widow Coach. I'm the CEO and founder of Widows Do Bounce Back, and here we help people grow in the gap that grief left behind. If you're looking for how to grow forward and you're just not sure where to start, I've got amazing tools for you. I'm here as your queen of how of all things widow to help you map your how to doing the things that define growth, happiness, and peace for you going forward. Be sure to check out my channel on Instagram and on Facebook, and check out the links below to find me elsewhere on the web. If you're looking for membership or community or even events and retreats, please check out the links below. It's all there in the description. Make sure you stay to the end of the video. I've got some goodies in that for you, and I'll see you in the comments. Thanks for watching. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Maya Dion, and this is Dating in Widowland. So I'm going to get right to it. None of those introductions, you can read all those at the bottom. Just for your reference, I am a widow life coach, and this is a session about dating as a widowed person. Here we go. This session is about reconciling the guilt and the loneliness and the pressure behind dating. So before we get into all the other things, let's talk about this part. This part is tricky. Hang on, let me close my door. So talking about the guilt. For me, the guilt and something that I've noticed with in my coaching and talking to other widowed people like yourself is the biggest guilt thing is how would he see me? Would he be on a cloud somewhere watching me date somebody else, be in love with somebody else, kiss somebody else, be intimate with somebody else, be basically the same person I was with him? Why does that make you feel guilty? Obviously, because you felt like it was genuine to be who you are with your husband and that was special and that only he got that side of you. So there's guilt, obviously, around giving that to someone else, because then you begin to question, was it real before? Was it authentic before? Was it only for him before, like you thought? There were times in my marriage where I felt like nobody knows me like him. Nobody can get me to laugh like him. Nobody can, make me feel like him. And the most interesting thing about that is I was worried that I'd be looking for him and that same feeling and that same me in other people. And I felt guilty about that. I felt like I had gone to an altar and told God and everybody that I was only this person for this person. And so I felt like I was going back on my word. But let me tell you something. You have fulfilled your vows. I know that sounds finite. I know that sounds logical and it doesn't jive with your emotions. But one thing about our emotions is the reason why true is true and facts are not feelings is because feelings can change. Truth cannot. That's the difference. So we can't lean into feelings when we're looking for truth. So if we feel like we are going back on our vows or we're not being honest or we're not being genuine, that's a feeling. And maybe someday we won't feel that way. However, if it's true that you fulfilled your vows, then you did. There is no going back on that. There is no maybe I feel different this way today. You did or you didn't. And you did. So there's that. The guilt also is there from a perspective of how other people make you feel, the guilt from outside. So we talked about the guilt from within, where we're afraid of being the same self or being inauthentic in ourselves when we go and out into this world and give away what we thought belonged to somebody else. So then there's the guilt from outside, the guilt from people that are not in a relationship with us, the people that love us but mean well, the people that are strangers that have their lives a certain way, or friends who live a certain way that is contrary to what we believe, where, they say, oh, if it were me, I wouldn't X, Y, Z. The pressure from outside, the guilt from outside comes from societal norms. Society tells us, interestingly, that when a woman is widowed, she's supposed to, wear black and stay that way for years and years and years and just do what grandma did when grandpa died, just stay alone and be that strong woman and keep going. However, when a man is widowed, we almost rush him to be remarried because we feel like he just can't raise kids. He just can't live and function. He just can't be happy without a woman taking care of him or without a woman by his side. Isn't that interesting? So there's that societal norm. And I actually wrote a book about that. I'll drop it below. I did an anthology with a bunch of other male widowers, and they have a very different perspective to share with what that feels like. and what's in reality going on in their minds and hearts. And it may not be, let's get married again. So that's another thing. So anyway, the societal pressure to basically be an old maid, to be an old cat lady, to just, suffocate under the pressure of loneliness, of missing your partner, and let's not even go into, well, we can go into, let's not skip over the physical loneliness there is, of not having a person, not having or you went from having somebody be this close to you all the time, maybe not physically, but mentally this close to you all the time, to having absolutely nothing, cold turkey. So there's a lot of pressure to fulfill not just what the expectation of adulthood is for you now and companionship and what you wanted for your life, but what other people are seeing when they look at you, what other people are judging you by when they look at you. Not so much that they want you to be remarried and hurry up and date, but they may be pressuring you to wait and say that your heart isn't well enough to be able to make good decisions, that you somehow were able to choose and endure and blossom under a big, huge enough love to marry a person on your own before, but now somehow you're impaired and can't figure that out on your own. Right. So there's that pressure to do what other people want you to do. There's a pressure from the in-laws where you feel like they may not be saying anything, but to you, you're like, oh my God, it's disrespectful to date. What are they going to think? They're going to think I didn't love him if I start dating. It doesn't matter if it's, 2 minutes, well, I guess not 2 minutes after he died, but I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't matter if it's a year later or 5 years later, or in my case, 6 years later. You will always feel, I'm not going to say you always get the backlash, but you always feel like there's someone judging you. And again, we go back to facts and feelings. The feelings are this: there are people that want me to do something that I don't necessarily agree with. Society is frowning upon me. There's so much pressure for me to have a kid, or there's so much pressure for me to obtain a new father figure for my children, because God forbid, as a woman, I try and raise boys on my own. There's that outside pressure. And all this pressure, these are feelings. These are feelings that other people are expressing with you. They're not truth just because they said them, or not false just because they didn't say them. They are feelings that you are having from the outside, or that people are exerting upon you with their own pressures and ideas of how they grew up, and traditions that they are exerting on you. These are feelings. When we move into the fact section, the fact is, are you ready to date? Yes or no? You don't know? Okay, that's also a fact, though. That has nothing to do with how it feels for other people to judge you, how it feels for you to judge you, how it feels to not have a father in the house for the kids and think that it's your responsibility to put one in there. Nothing to do with those things. Are you ready to date? That's our next topic in a minute, but that's another video. But before that, that's it. It's true or false. Are you ready to date? And if you are, why do you want to date? These are the facts that you need to be sitting in when you decide whether you want to date or not the pressure, not the guilt, and not the loneliness. Speaking of loneliness, let's get into that. So we talked about guilt and we talked about pressure from inside and out. Now let's talk about the loneliness piece. Like I mentioned before, you're expected to go cold turkey. You're expecting of yourself to go complete cold turkey after you have been with and done all the things married people do. And not just the physical things, but the pillow talk, the giggling, the chasing each other around, the best friendiness, the companionship that is in a marriage. That is a sacred and very deep thing. So it is not abnormal for you to miss that. It is not strange for you to think, almost be repulsed by wanting someone else, but at the same time want something. And sometimes that drives us into, me included, I did this, into serial dating, where you're just out there trying to feel something. You're just out there trying to have somebody look at you in a non-familial way, in a non-sisterly way. You just want something non-platonic to make yourself feel alive again, to make yourself feel worth loving again, and to make yourself feel separate from that lonely, broken half of a person that you feel like when you think about what it's like to live without your spouse. You are longing to step outside of that persona for a minute. And what's happening there is you are marrying grief. You are attaching yourself and saying, this is grief, grief is me. And so I am lonely. And so in that loneliness, we go out into the world feeling like no one understands us. No one can connect to us. Nobody sees us in a way that isn't, oh, poor you, or this is my family, I'll do whatever I have to do. Nobody is choosing you because they don't have like some familial tie or some relationship, previous relationship tie. You are longing for somebody just like your husband, who is outside of all of the frameworks that you've already built, to choose you unprompted. That's what you're looking for, in loneliness, and in the loneliness of widowhood anyway. And that's hard. That's hard. That's a fact that, you are sitting in a feeling of needing companionship. You're sitting in a feeling of nobody connects to me. But the fact is, no one is connected to you in this way, in the way your husband was. So that is something that you can give yourself grace for. Yes, you truly are. And I don't mean to sound insensitive about this at all. I don't mean to sound flippant, but you are alone in that space of not being two becoming one, or being half of the whole that you and your husband were. And that is something that, the harsh reality, but the silver lining at the same time, is that this is your opportunity to figure out why you are so lonely when you're alone. What pieces of yourself did you not develop because you had him already? Let me get into that. Before you bite my head off, let me get into that. So in discussing loneliness, we talk about, people that were married young, people that were married and complete each other. For me, there is this stigma, or was a stigma for me, around the fact that I got married so young and that I didn't develop myself enough. And I leaned on my husband to fill in all of my gaps. And while that was true, I had no shame about it. It wasn't a point of shame for me at all. Because yes, two became one. Yes, I was very happily married. Yes, I was fine with him filling in the gaps and not growing myself in those spaces. I was very young, for one, but also I felt there was nothing wrong with that. That's what the Bible says that you do when two become one. You are his helpmeet. He is there was a saying, I can't remember what it is, but it's like a treasured gift you are to me, or the answer prayer you'll always be, or something like that. Like, y'all are supposed to be each other's fill-in. But the only thing is, what we don't consider, and this is not an oversight of us, this is just us living life. So please give yourself grace for that. We don't consider who we are without our person. And so our loneliness may be rooted in not developing the parts of you that he filled in. And so therein lies the action on, and instead of sitting in the feeling of, or instead of only acknowledging the feeling, wallowing in it, the action is, okay, what do I do about the fact that I'm alone and lonely? Because that is a fact. So, that I'm alone, and the feeling is that I'm lonely. So what do I do? What you do is decide, okay, what parts of me am I willing to explore? What parts of me am I willing to look for to be filled again? That's that's a really interesting conversation to have with yourself, or to journal. What parts of me am I interested in fulfilling on my own? What parts of me would I not like to be gone again? This is important. Get this. What parts of me would I not like to be gone again if I get into another relationship? Right? So these parts of you, this loneliness, can be addressed before you even start dating some of the parts. And knowing the parts of you that you're okay with someone else feeling, or not so much the parts of you, but the parts of your life that you're okay with someone else feeling, that you're okay with, if they don't stay in your life, they're gone. That's actually good to know for when you begin to date. That's actually amazing to know, that you know what parts of you're cool with sharing. You're cool with growing with someone. You're cool with being interested in what they have to offer, and letting what they have to offer fill that space for you. It's not wrong to allow people to take up space in your life. What is uncomfortable is when they take up the space that you can't live without. Right? So I hope that was helpful. We talked about guilt from the inside, from the outside looking in, being pressed upon us. We talked about pressure from the inside of what we expected for our lives versus the outside of what people are telling us is proper, or what we should do. And then we talked about loneliness, the fact and the feelings about loneliness, and what you can do about them in the interim, and how knowing where you're lonely and where you'd like to be filled is going to be awesome to know for your dating journey. I hope that was super helpful for you. Stay tuned in the next episode, which is called, Why Do You Even Want to Date? Get clear on why you want to date, to make sure that you're in it for the right reasons and not filling a space that you should be filling yourself. I'm Maya Dion. Check you in the next one. Thanks for watching Dating in Widowland. I hope you loved what you saw here. I hope the information was so helpful for you. This is a series. If you're looking for more in-depth, really juicy, awesome information from someone who actually dated and remarried in Widowland, please check out the rest of the series below. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please drop them below. I always answer my comments. Thanks for watching. Bye.